Welcome to another beginner's guide to FTL Multiverse. Multiverse adds a lot to base FTL. Far too much to experience in a single run, and far too much to front load. As a result, quite a few of its places and people are hidden in the deep expanses of space. This video covers the hidden crewmates and sectors of Multiverse, as well as where you can find them. Quite a few of these sites and citizens are related, so I'll be covering them together when it makes sense. Some unique crewmates are nearly inseparable from their secret crew, so we'll be discussing a few of them as well. I've covered certain crew that were probably meant to be secret crew in my other Multiverse videos, so I'll refer back to them when necessary. I'll be covering anything that's related to specific endings in the videos dedicated to them, so if you're curious about those, check the related videos once I've gotten around to making them. Curiously, I'm still extra shoddy. Welcome to the secret crewmates and sectors of Multiverse. Equinoids.
Everybody knows a horse girl. You knew a horse girl, didn't you?
Yeah, she got decapitated.
Not quite horses, but just as big and deadly. Equinoids cannot man systems, but introduce a new kind of mechanic to Multiverse: auto crewmates. You can't give them commands, but they'll automatically engage in combat with intruders, and will attempt to repair systems and put out fires when possible. Equinoids complicate this by being unable to repair systems. Combined with their questionable AI, I'm inclined to believe Equinoids are closer relatives to house cats than horses. They keep standing on top of breaches, and I need you to get out of the way. Bobby needs to get to work. Bad Clarence. Go back to your stable. Their active ability gives you temporary control over them. Managing this can be a hassle, one you can mitigate by taming them. If you install the onboard lab, you can use 3 drone parts to convert them to a tamed Equinoid, and grant them slightly more combat damage, the ability to repair slower than Mantis and fight fires better than Rockman, and full control, just like any other crewmate. The process is very painful. There's an elusive variant to this secret crew called the Crystal Equinoid. It cannot operate or repair systems, and is slightly slower than other Equinoids, but hits harder and has a lockdown ability similar to Crystal Crew. Equinoids are interesting. There aren't many situations that call for livestock on a spaceship, but they work well as filler crewmates. You can make good use of them, but sadly, average Joe Starship isn't an equestrian. It would take a gentle soul with fierce determination to be given that honor. There's a generic event in most sectors that brings you to a planet with roaming Equinoids, like in base FTL. If you have telepathic crew or mind control, you can coax one onto your ship without the danger of them attacking you after coming on board. The Crystal Equinoid is a bit more elusive, but a wreck in the Elite Hunters Guild territory hosts its caretaker. Bringing a hero pure of heart and sign of Feld may be the key to recruiting it. On an unrelated note, in rebel-controlled sectors, you may overhear chatter about a mysterious rebel sequestered away. If you ask politely, you'll be able to claim coordinates to his hideout. I mean, you'll still have to kill them all, but being polite helps. The Jerome Protectorate is a strange place, with a cult of personality forming around this Jerry. From the way everyone speaks of him, you'd think he'd saved their marriage, cured their syphilis, and slew the Jabberwocky. Upon meeting him, we learn that Jerry is just a guy. Impeccably likable, but still just a guy. You have the option to kill him, but this gives you no benefit, and actually makes the final flagship fight harder, by adding orbital bombardment to the flagship's arsenal. Recruiting Jerry gives you a rather mediocre crewmate, but Jerry has a way with words, and can convince most rebels to look the other way on your behalf. Upon attempting to exit the sector, a particularly strong ship will impede your escape. If you destroy the ship or wipe out its crew, Jerry will depart from you, so you need to wait for their surrender, which is a fairly long process. If you disable their weapons and kill most of their crew, you can usually wait out the fight. You'll be given a notice when they're on the brink of surrender when Jerry pleads for you to spare them. Wait another 30 seconds or so, and the fight will automatically end. There's plenty more to say about Jerry, but for now, we've got other secrets to uncover.
Formed in 1896 as a way to spur ne'er-do-wells into productive community activity, the Grappling Arachnid Society is no laughing matter. The group found its footing as an alternative to the gambling and opium addictions popular with the youth of their time, and eventually branched out into fixing boxing matches. Activity was slow but steady for a century or so, but imagine our shock and awe when we discovered the 8-legged extraterrestrial. We had such hopes.
Let me give you an idea of how spider boarding tends to go.
There is a spider! Spider! Spider!
It's very good. Spiders are auto crewmates that are highly specialized towards fighting. There are several variants you can encounter, but they share these traits in common. They heal quickly, take extra damage from fire, and their active ability gives you temporary control over them. Moving from there, you have different weight classes: bantamweight, welterweight, and scholarship recipient. Hatchlings are good in crew combat, and both move and heal faster than their mature counterparts, but have very little health. They cannot man systems and repair incredibly slowly. Spider adults are even better in crew combat, have more health, move slightly slower, and can man systems, but still repair very slowly, and learn non-combat skills slower. Weavers invert this trend, and have slightly worse stats in combat, but repair systems faster than standard crewmates, at the cost of moving slower. Each of these variants fills a slightly different role. Hatchlings work well as auto bodyguards on your ship, and benefit from medbot dispersal and other passive healing. Adults are terrifying boarding crew. They hit harder than most crewmates, but their obnoxious AI forces you to wrangle them into the teleporter room before they can act properly as boarders. How many times do I have to tell you to get out of the oxygen bay? That does it, Clarence the Third. You're going back to the stable with your big brother. Weavers are the odd ducks of the spiders, as they hit harder but are more effective as pseudo-repair drones. They're still fantastic combatants, but it's clear that it's not their passion anymore. Like an MMA fighter that quit before the CTE set in. They make better money in accounting anyway. The onboard lab can force the growth of spiders, from hatchlings to adults and then to weavers. Growing them up via lab is not a reversible process, so keep in mind what you need from them before you commit to the change. Remember, your childhood is dead and gone. There's actually one more weight class we can talk about. Your mother. I'm so sorry, that was unnecessarily rude. The Queen of Spiders is ridiculously strong, too much so to be a jest or, God forbid, a joke. She deals triple damage in crew combat, moves and recovers slightly faster, but takes additional fire damage. She can operate systems, has abysmal repair speed, and her active ability grants regeneration and a speed bonus to all allied spiders in the same room. Interestingly, all of your spiders on the same ship as her can be manually controlled, making them far easier to work with. At empty beacons, she can spawn 2 hatchlings as new crew, which can be converted into any variant except the Queen. Quite a lot of the spider lifestyle depends on the Queen, both for her presence during battles as well as producing additional spiders. The spider lab upgrades can make them devastating boarding crew, but running an arachnophobic ship requires that you have a range of spiders for combat and repairs. You know why I didn't say arachnophilic.
On a cold winter morning.
The raiders known as the Brood heavily employ spider crewmates. If you find a station overrun with them and defeat it with the station still intact, you'll receive coordinates to the infested sector, their hideout with the Broodmother's lair. This event is heavily dependent on your ability to defeat an entire station filled with spiders, and that's not an easy task, even for dedicated boarding crew. If you're not confident in your boarding abilities, consider using anti-bioweapons, bombs, and of course, the tried and true combo of your doors and the airlock. The infested sector is chock full of spiders, far more than should be in any one place, and is home to 2 unique crewmates. The first of these is Irwin, a fellow renegade who's a bit too conspiracy happy, and isn't super relevant to this video. The second is the Queen, who is located in the depths of the Brood's hideout. You'll be given the chance to assassinate her, but you can choose to help her instead, gaining her as a crewmate in the process. Tree lizard things. A primitive species turned into a sweatshop worker with an axe to grind. Functionally an Oompa Loompa, sans candy, but with more wage theft. Lizards have slightly more health, deal slightly more damage in combat, and regenerate if unharmed for a few seconds. They have slightly worse repair speed and learn how to operate systems slower, but learn combat and repair skills slightly faster. Tree lizards feel like a compromise between the unique technical play of leeches and the combat focus of mantis. They don't struggle as operators or boarders, and are one of the rare crews that can heal without a medbay. They don't feel like they're quite suited or comfortable with life on a spaceship, but they're good enough at adapting that they can find a role in your crew. They're doing better than the ponies, in any case.
I love refrigerators.
Billy Hektar loves money, but more importantly, he loves sales. That's why he set them up all over Nebula and neutral sectors to hawk weird modular weapons, their attachments, and inscrutable subscription services. Unfortunately, we're interested in the latter. You can gain Uwu points from every Hektar store you visit, and upon obtaining 4, you'll be given the fabulous opportunity to enter the Hektar Sweatshop Megamarket. Clearly, no ulterior motives are involved. Upon entering, you'll be conscripted into forced labor due to the crushing debt. I'm just kidding, you start blasting. You'll find the aforementioned tree lizards from events and quests in the area, as well as Slug Hektar employees. There are plenty of Hektar shops in the area, as well as 2 unique crewmates, one sellout salamander by the name of Metyan, and the CEO of Hektar himself, Billy. At Hektar headquarters, we'll find him trapped, somewhat delirious, and requesting escape from a business deal gone bad. Help him out of his mercenary problem, and he'll join your crew. And maybe help you get out of that crippling debt. Osmians, the true natives of Zoltan space. They're just like you and me, but with some bizarre powers. Osmians are similar to standard crew in most regards, with the exception of slight suffocation resistance. Their claim to fame lies in their active ability, which spawns a holographic ally with 50 health and generates 1 point of power in that room, and disappears after roughly 20 seconds. These holograms are similar to their user, and can fight, repair, and man systems, as well as walk through locked doors. These are stands. It's just a stand user, from the JoJo's.
Do it, Shining Diamond!
Osmians are so hard for me to wrap my head around. They sound like the perfect crewmate. They can be in 2 places at once, or do anything at double efficiency, and supply power at the same time. They can do so much it's hard to feel like you're ever using them properly. But if you can use them half good, you'll never want for extra hands on deck. For how rigid and law-abiding the Zoltan Ministry is, they have their share of secrets. If you stumble upon their capital, you may end up in the midst of a terrorist attack. You'll need to come to this event with either a Ministry Zoltan or Harmony NG crewmate, as well as a form of upgraded sensors. If you do, you'll be able to fend off the terrorists, force them to flee, and track their location as they're fleeing. Afterwards, you'll be promptly, if uncourteously, rewarded by the Zoltan government. But traveling to the new quest beacon, strangely enough, will lead you to the Zoltan's original homeworld, Osmia. The terrorists, in truth Osmians, will request your aid in liberating their kidnapped brethren from a lab facility. If you defeat the ship here, you'll be rewarded with an Osmian crewmate, but if you also bring along a heavy-set crewmate, such as a Rockman, you'll also be able to haul off some cryogenically frozen Osmians. You can defrost them to obtain more Osmian crewmates at empty beacons to resume their fresh, only briefly frozen beef. In nebula sectors, you may come across a distressed beacon inside one of them that hosts a slug that's requesting repairs. This may in fact be the deposed Slug King, Sloknog. Giving him 50 scrap will reward you with a potential reroute for the Slug Royal Nebula, in addition to housing copious amounts of narcotics and the occasional... It's also the home of the Slug Royal Succession, the competition to crown the next king. If you reach this beacon, you can choose to support the current incumbent or the challenger. Neither are good choices for ruler, so don't worry too much about your choice. There are 4 unlocks associated with the singular event, so if you're a cruiser unlock junkie, expect to see this place fairly often. To be quite blunt, I don't like either of these candidates. A can of baked bushes would have more charisma. I wonder who's running on the independent ticket. Rockman cultists. Do you know the holy texts? Rockman cultists share the slow movement speed and fire immunity of their standard counterparts. Their active ability sacrifices a large chunk of their health to boost their movement speed, repair speed, and combat stats, as well as grant them mind control immunity. Their large health pool mitigates the loss from this skill, but they work well with the internal upgrade Reconstructive Teleporter. Cultists' ability to lose nearly half their health before a fight seems counterintuitive, but it grants them enough of an edge in combat that most fights will end before it presents any problem. While lugging them from the teleporter back to the medbay is rarely a fun use of time, they're surprisingly good brawlers and handymen. There's a big secret waiting in the Rockman and Outcast homeworlds. You may come across a crystal envoy, Ruin, the very same Ruin who gave many veterans of base FTL unlock PTSD. He requests an escort to a diplomacy meeting, which naturally goes south. If you intervene, Ruin will request your help reaching a waystone back to the crystalline origins. These sectors are the original homeworlds of the Crystal race, but are currently occupied by the Cult of the Amber. Have you ever needed a nice secluded space to get away from home, spend some time with the boys, maybe charge your crystals?
I don't know if I like being associated with this.
That's what the Cult of the Amber did. You can recruit these cultists, but your primary objective is reclaiming a crystalline waste zone. Sadly, it's in the possession of the cult's leader, Vortigaunt, and needs to be stolen back. After your initial stealth mission fails, you'll have to stop an escaping Vortigaunt and force him into submission, either by forcing them to stand down or defeating all of their crew. If you have an upgraded medbay or clone bay, you can resuscitate a dying Vortigaunt, who will promptly join your crew. Upon attempting to leave the sector, Ruin will depart with the waste zone unless Vortigaunt is also a member of your crew. If you want to keep him, you'll need to bring Vortigaunt along as well.
The missile knows where it is.
In the starting sector, you may be solicited by a robotic secretary known as Cura, who sends you on a series of mercenary contracts. These contracts, especially the high difficulty ones, offer surprisingly good rewards of scrap and unique weaponry as well as augments. After completing enough of them, you'll be offered the chance to head to Wentworth Innovation Headquarters, which houses a number of secretive rebel projects. Vance Wentworth, the leader of the Multiverse Rebellion, is also the CEO of Wentworth Corporation. What is it with CEOs and armed insurrection? You'll see a lot of autoships and rebels here, and a few events offering Wentworth technicians. After traveling through the sector and completing one last task for Cura, you'll come across a drone superweapon, which is hijacked by Cura themselves. The unique weaponry of the sector are sentry deployers, which impose debuffs on the targeted room rather than damaging them. Were you trying to repair this room? Have fun with that, while trying to get blasted by nano sentries or getting frostbite. The reward for this fight is a unique crewless cruiser, as well as the Power Core. The Power Core is a unique weapon that fires nothing, but supplies 3 power to the weapon to the right of it, completely independent from your weapon system. In addition to supplying constant power, this lets you use weapon loadouts that use up to 11 power, compared to the standard 8. There's quite a bit more to say about the entire Cura questline, which may or may not require its own video, but if you're someone who loves big weapons, this is a worthwhile prize. Morphs.
I've been waiting for this.
They run blades, they win at arcades, and they just might dream of electric sheep. I love morphs. It's no secret, no mystery, and certainly no surprise if you've been watching these videos. They're anything you want them to be, but they're anaerobic and only a little squishier. Morphs are blobs with standard stats except for very low health, but can mitigate this by imitating other crewmates, having identical stats to them with the exception of reduced health and suffocation immunity. If that crew has an active ability, then that morph will copy that as well. There are 3 different variants of morphs: standard, technopaths, and malforms. Standard morphs can mimic most organic crew. There are only a handful of crew who aren't eligible for morphin time, such as those with strange biologies, like Zoltans or ghosts. They're great for duplicating a specific utility, such as getting multiple vampweeds or crystal crewmates. Somewhat fittingly, they're well suited for copying their progenitors, the shells, as they can benefit from their active ability without the shell's inherent weakness to suffocation. Technopaths can mimic most mechanical or metallic crew, as well as nearly every drone in the game. My love of technopaths is known far and wide, and their possibilities go well beyond ships full of repair drones. My personal favorites are copying Ion, Doctor, and the Ether Director drones. Do you ever look at a pile of blue goo and a flower pot and say, yeah, my shields are always at full power? Technopaths can make that happen. Malforms are morph elites, and they can copy just about any crewmate a standard morph can, but in the process become an elite of that particular race, whether or not the original crewmate was an elite. They cannot copy species without elites, but interestingly, if a malform copies a spider crewmate, it will become a spider queen, and gain the ability to spawn additional spiders, who also happen to be morphs, and will be able to choose different crewmates to replicate afterwards. Morphs are endlessly versatile, but can't accomplish anything you couldn't before. Making good use of them as crewmates is tricky, because they can do something completely different in every run they're a part of. They can even imitate certain unique crewmates or secret crewmates like Osmians, letting you flood your crew with fake Osmians and fake holograms of those fake Osmians. That's a lot of crewmates. While some morphs can be found at various events in the Geniocracy Science District, you can find multitudes of them from their primary source. But that's not just a where, it's a who. Ouj Maju is an anaerobic crewmate that takes reduced damage in combat, but has average stats otherwise. Ouj isn't powerful because of what he can do during a battle, but what he does outside of them. At empty beacons, Ouj can consume resources to spawn a standard morph or technopath. The morph cruisers, as well as Ouj's personal cruiser, are made for absurd amounts of crew, giving you a lot of room to experiment with different combinations of crewmates. This video was made 25% out of obligation, and 75% out of a need to rant and rave about the mighty morphin morphs. Multiverse makes a point of adding a ridiculous amount of content to base FTL, and because of that, it can't front-load it without it being overwhelming. These secret crew and sectors require you to go out of your way to find and solve their mysteries. But they're some of my favorite locations and crew to play with. When you're given an opportunity to see them, take it. Thanks for watching. It was my personal goal to finish this video before I started playing Monster Hunter Wilds. I failed in that goal, but I'm still trying to keep these coming out in a reasonable time frame. Most of the footage for the Chaos mode and its ending has already been recorded, so the wait for that video shouldn't be quite as long as this one. Stay classy.